We are used to doing hard work on this channel, but this brick making, this is like the job that never ends. The art of brick making didn't change from ancient times until the Industrial Revolution. So in our 18th century homestead here, we're using exactly the same tools, techniques, and materials that they would have used in ancient times. Simple clay, sand. We put them together in molds, we let it dry, and then they get fired. We've been on this homestead for more than a year, and it's time to work on permanent structures. Everything we've done so far has been very temporary. We've built out of wood and we've built out of raw clay, but we need to build permanent things. Bricks are part of that solution. Impervious building blocks, that's what we're going to be making today. We're going to be hand making bricks right here. And we need a lot of people to do that kind of job. You don't make just one brick. That doesn't do anybody any good. So we need to make hundreds of bricks, thousands of bricks if we can. So we're going to get together a lot of people, turn this into an assembly line. Ryan's at the end and he's working on the clay from the start, getting the rocks out, the sticks, the roots that might be stuck in our clay, because the clay we're working on is surface clay. We haven't dug down 100 feet to get this perfect pristine clay. This is surface clay, so it's got a lot of things in it we do not want. Brandon is actually taking that clay that's already been worked and he's forming it into individual loaves for me to turn into the brick with our brick mold. So the brick mold has been wetted, it's got sand in it, and then, we force the clay down into the mold. And it's a dirty job. It flings clay and mud and sand everywhere. We need to strike this off, getting all our excess clay off. We can do it with our hands, we can do it with a board. I'm gonna put a little bit of sand on the top to give us a nice smooth surface. And then I hand it off to the person who demolds the brick. So she's gonna take it over, shake the brick out, and it's gotta set there on the drying spot. And then the mold comes back and goes back in the water and the whole process starts over. So he's always working on clay, he's working on the loaves, I'm molding up the bricks. She's getting rid of the bricks, putting them on the drying spot. The molds for making bricks, very important. There are lots of different styles of bricks and lots of different styles of brick molds. This is a special brick mold that's got metal all the way around it that holds it together, keeps it from breaking apart, and lines the top of our brick mold. And that feature on a brick mold with that metal on the top is actually in the laws written in Massachusetts in the 17th century to keep the molds from wearing out and the brick maker to continue using your mold even after it wasn't making the brick of the same size anymore. So the government was trying to regulate the exact size of a brick, and you were punished if your bricks weren't the right size. If we used an all wooden mold, like one of these down here, and we continue to scrape away as we take the clay off the top, our mold will start to get caved in, and then our brick isn't brick shaped anymore. We don't need very many tools for brick making either. There were itinerant or traveling brick makers. One of the reasons why is because all you need are your set of brick molds. You might need a striking board, something to take the clay off the top. You might need a mallet if you're making special kind of bricks where you have to knock the mold. You need a bucket for water, and then all you need are materials. An example of 18th century brick making is perfectly laid out in Matthew Patton's diary. And he does a diary in the 18th century. And in 1782, in September, he starts to collect a big pile of clay. A few days later, he gets the wood and he makes molds. And then A few days after that, he starts talking about making bricks, 200 bricks a day, 750 bricks a day. Other people are helping him. Some days he's making as many as 1,500 bricks a day. He does that for 3 or 4 weeks, on and off. And then I think it's right at the beginning of October, he says, I've made the last of my bricks. 200 of them were damaged by the rain. And then October 22nd, Master Richardson comes to his house, and Master Richardson builds a kiln and fires his bricks for him. It is so interesting to read this account because Matthew Patton, he's not a brick maker. He's actually someone who's a justice of the peace. He does a lot of legal work for people. He also works his homestead, a little bit of farming. And in this circumstance, he goes about making bricks. He uses other people's help. He has this master brick maker. And even more interesting, the next year he makes bricks again, but he doesn't need Master Richardson to come and help him build or fire his bricks. He already knows how to do it. Drying of the bricks is an important part of the whole entire process. The bricks get laid down on the ground, a nice flat surface, and they get demolded. They get released from the mold, and you have to kind of do that carefully so you don't mess them up. The clay is very, very soft at this point, or it can be very, very soft. They need to dry until they start to get just a little bit tacky so we can move them. We can't just let them dry exactly as we leave them, or they'll start to crack. They'll get too dry on one side or too dry on the outside and not on the inside, and they'll start to just basically break apart. As soon as this brick has dried enough that we can start to handle it without damaging it, we're gonna set it up on its side. We will get marks in this. There's a lot of period bricks you'll see with finger marks in them because people have to handle them right away. Once it's on its side, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry, but it'll dry much more evenly this way. And once they're in a harder form, they'll actually get stacked up one on top of another into a hack, into a stack, so that we can protect them from getting rained on, which will ruin the bricks at this stage. Once our brick has been demolded, it'll take a couple of hours to a couple of days until we can set it up on its side. Then it needs to dry in this state another couple of days until it gets good and hard. And then when it goes into that hack, it will need to dry for quite a while, 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on the weather. Then they can be fired. And there we have the ancient art of brick making. We still have lots more to do. They have to dry out, but once they're all dry, then the challenge comes. We've got to burn these bricks. So we're gonna get all these guys together, and I wanna thank them for all the hard work they've done making these bricks. We're gonna have a party. We're gonna build the kiln. We're gonna burn these bricks. It's going to be so exciting. I can't wait for that episode. Make sure you don't miss it. So subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching today.